It is Tuesday, February 4th. It's about 33 degrees, 34. Just warm enough for the ground to be muddy, and just cold enough that I actually still have to wear gloves. I am at my favorite nature preserve, where I spend most of my time training for the AT, and also I'm a volunteer here, so I keep debris and trash off of the trails, and just, the usual good doer, or do-gooder? What is it, good doer? I don't know. Good doer sounds just as weird as do-gooder. They both sound like someone whose English is like their fifth language, which, means they're way smarter than me because I barely know one, but it means that they might struggle with English. So apparently I'm struggling with English today. Anyways, this is the first day where I'm fully outfitted in my actual pack that I'm going to take on the AT. I have been using a cheap-ass school backpack, well, computer backpack, whatever, and I just had been throwing ankle weights and water bottles in there to simulate the weight. But I had to stop doing that because I found out last Friday that I have multiple tears in the muscles of my shoulder, and either a complete tear of the head of the tendon that comes off my bicep, or I'm one of the ultra rare weirdos who apparently could be born without the tendon that leads from their bicep up into their shoulder. Apparently it hardly ever happens, but considering all the other nonsense I've been born with, it won't shock me if the orthopedic specialist that I'm supposed to see soon doesn't say, hey, turns out you have one more freaky thing wrong with you that you didn't even know about until your late 40s, so that'd be great. But regardless of whether it's actually damage that I did and somehow I don't realize I did, or if it's just congenital, I figured I better start getting used to the pack that I'm really going to take, because both the old pack is kind of painful on that bad shoulder, and two, if this isn't going to work, I'm going to have to find a different pack. But so far, the Osprey Atmos has been fantastic. My shoulder isn't hurting at all, at least not beyond the usual ache that it's had for the last year or so. And I think we're going to be okay. So this is just kind of a dry run of how it's going to feel, and it feels pretty damn good. But that's kind of a concern that I'm dealing with right now. Figured I'd mention in the video a couple pieces of news. That's the one that is on my mind most, because regardless of what the orthopedist says whenever I see him soon, I'm still going. When I was little, I used to play basketball, so often with my hands in casts. I used to run around and do all sorts of stuff with all the other kids, often with my hands in casts. And when they weren't in casts, they were still in very restrictive splints to kind of help the growth of the shape of the hands and arms. And it was all just a huge pain in the ass. But I didn't care. I just kept going. And I still have that mindset now. I knew a coach in high school who would often say, are you hurt or are you injured? Because are you hurt means, oh no, you have a boo-boo, pain's gonna fade, suck it up, move on. Are you injured is there actually something wrong? Did something break? Did something tear? Is there something that will not get any better until a professional sees you and deals with it? Because then you need to do that. Then get back out on the field. So I kind of held on to that thought most of my life. It certainly aligned with the way I saw things in my upbringing. And as an adult, I tried to pass that on to the kids that I worked with. That, life hurts a lot. Daily life hurts a lot. And a lot of stuff we just have to kind of swallow, because there's not much you can do to fix it. It's just the existence, the nature of existence. think it was Schopenhauer who said, and I'm paraphrasing, but something to the effect of, if there's any purpose whatsoever in life, it must be to suffer. Because if suffering isn't the purpose of life, then really, however this ended up being the way it is, has been a complete failure. And it sounds, really pessimistic and really dour, but I think it's actually kind of optimistic. It's saying, there's going to be suffering. To exist is to suffer. Princess Bride had a great line when Wesley, cosplaying as the Dread Pirate Roberts, said, "Life is pain, princess." It all is kind of all the same mindset, where shit happens, move on. I guess that's the most concise way of saying it. So that's what I'm doing with this shoulder thing. Unless my damn arm falls off, or I get hit by a falling satellite, or, I don't know, a runaway dump truck runs over my feet, I'm still going. Because I've got many things to take care of on this trail. And, number one is obviously the adventure of it. I keep going in all my videos about how there's so many different reasons to do this, but the real primary why to do anything is because you want to. But, there's also other reasons for me. And I'm sure everybody has their motivations and their burdens that they want to take out into the wilderness, dump out there, and come back lighter. Now, while I don't think that's something that can happen, I do think you can take your burdens out into the wilderness, make friends with them, and then the two of you can just carry the weight together. That brings me to point number 2 in this video, as I just show you the incredible muck and mire that has become this trail. I'm waiting for Shrek to pop out in a parka and tell me to get the hell out of his swamp, because there's, as you can see from the steps in the ground, it's pretty gooey. But the second point of this whole video, as I walk here, is to cover something that I think I needed to tell myself. And I watched my old videos, the 3 other ones. Yes, I hardly make many videos. And yes, I am not a vlogger. I am not a qualified cinematographer. I am not a qualified narrator. I'm just some weird little forest freak who's been blessed / cursed with modern technology. So I'm recording my thoughts. And the second point is that those thoughts were supposed to be for me and, my loved ones. I am doing this whole adventure on my own. I've been training pretty much on my own. I'm paying for it on my own. I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life. But hey, I developed a really good credit score the last 15 years, so why not just destroy it all? I'm kidding, don't do that. And don't blame me if you do that. That's on you. But this has all been something that's supposed to be just for me. And the ones that I adore, the ones that mean the most to me. And I realized in those first 3 videos that I shot that I was constantly talking to the world. I was talking to the audience. And I probably still am, but part of it is just my personality. I'm very much a performer. I don't think that most people realize I'm actually really introverted inside. I don't like being the center of attention at all. In fact, I absolutely hate it. But because I was born the way I was, people always focused their attention on me and always stared in my direction and made comments. So I learned very young to just turn it at least on its head. If you're going to stare at me, then I'll give you something to laugh at other than my ridiculous appearance. And part of that is, just a logical response to how people with deformities are treated. We either shelter ourselves even more and never go outside, or we become clowns, really, in some ways. But also part of it is something that I've kind of known my whole life. Didn't want to really believe, but was actually confirmed about it a few months ago. And that's that I struggle with a virtual struggle. I guess it's not really like a disease or anything, but it's certainly a disorder. I was diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder with narcissistic and sadistic tendencies. And it sucked to be confirmed that, yeah, you're basically a sociopath. I mean, the words are interchangeable. One is an old, outdated, and Hollywoodified term, sociopath. But the other was more clinical, but still the same damn word. But it's not the same to understand that you struggle with empathy, and you struggle with giving a damn about rules, and just all this stuff that usually comes with that. But it's another thing to realize that that's right. You actually fit this diagnosis to a T. And part of that was the narcissism. I have a huge ego, and I think I went from using the performance aspect of my personality as a shield to kind of as a tool to manipulate. And so one of the big reasons that I wanted to do the trek and videotape it for myself was to show myself that I'm able to do things for real. I already know that, but to see that in my 40s, I haven't lost that indomitable will. You know, my willpower is kind of freakish superpower. You wouldn't believe the shit I can will myself through. But I felt like I lost that many years ago. But I think it's still there, and this is to prove it to myself that it is. And also, this trek is really kind of to put down the need to be so performative all the time. And yeah, you're going to immediately ask, well, then why the hell are you doing videos, dumbass? That's really counterintuitive. But think about it. If it's documented and it's irrefutable, then it's not a performance, it's not a embellishment. And you really also can't forget the fact that that stroke I had a few years ago really screwed up my short-term memory. And I don't want to forget any of this. So that brings me right back around to the very center point that this was supposed to be for me. This is supposed to be for me, my sweetie, maybe my mom and dad and sisters. But it's really kind of a therapeutic tool. And I need to stop focusing on the audience in capital letters. I know the very last video I did while I was folding laundry, I actually asked you guys to comment what sort of videos you wanted me to make. And watching that, watching it back later, I'm like, why the hell did I do that? I'm glad if people watch this. That's great. If you find any entertainment value or informative value, or you just like pointing, hey, look at that weirdo in the woods. Fine, whatever, I don't care. I'm not responsible for how you take things, but I am responsible for how I put things out there. And I really should not have been making the grand audience the center of my focus here. So from now on, I'm going to be just talking to those who are in my little circle. Everyone else is still invited to watch. And I hope, you get something out of this. I would love that. But I need to keep my mind on the fact that this is for me and that I'm not doing a performance. I need to get away from that aspect of my personality. It's one thing to spend your whole life as a sociopath, basically. Stealing, cheating, lying. I had periods where I was pretty violent. Never against anybody innocent, and never against women and children or the elderly. But I've basically done pretty awful things in my younger days. And then when I met my sweetie, I put that aside. It still felt good. It was who I was. It's really my nature, I guess. But I locked it up. And now I'm coming to realize that it really is the core of who I am, but the core of who I don't have to be. And so I'm documenting the next several months as incontrovertible proof to myself that I can be the person I want to be and not the person I was born to be. You know, our personality is written in our genes like a menu at a restaurant. And yeah, nurture and, upbringing and all that has some editing impact on the menu. But we all still choose the meal we eat. And so I'm trying to choose a good, healthy meal. Maybe a meal with less mud, but whatever. So that's what this is all about. And if you want to be the peanut gallery, please do. Enjoy it. I just can't keep focusing on you guys because that's not going to help me with what I want to do with all of this. Not very many people with my issues want to be better because they don't think anything's wrong. But I mean, just from a logical perspective, you can't be a monster in a world that's already got plenty of them already. We don't need more. So if you struggle with stuff like this, find a way to be who you should be, not who you are. And if you're someone who's got people in your life like that, I'm torn on advice for that. Because from my perspective, knowing what I know, I should say get away from them. And I mean like over 95%, they will never give a fuck. There's nothing you can do to change them. There's nothing they want to do to change themselves. But on the other hand, I mean, look at me. I've managed to be an upstanding citizen for, well, it'll be 20 years in September. And that's all thanks to one silly little moment in my life when I walked into a Jamba Juice and saw this girl with gorgeous eyes. It's crazy how life works. So I shouldn't tell you to stay away from people like that, but I also don't want to tell you that they can all be turned around and that I'll just go back to Shrek, that every ogre can become your Prince Charming. It doesn't work like that usually. And you can't do anything to make it happen. Everybody makes their own choices. So I'm going to choose to keep walking and turn this camera off so you don't have to keep listening to my voice that definitely sounds like a Smurf in the blender. But hopefully you get what I was trying to say. And hopefully you keep watching if you found any value in this before. Things are going to be a little bit more personal as I go on now. And now that actually the trail is closer than ever, I've got my flight booked. I've got my night's stay at the Amicalola Lodge already booked. So things are happening and the trailhead is getting closer and closer. And I think that's my arm in the picture. There we go. Sorry. But yeah, keep watching. And I hope you don't feel let down when things aren't quite as geared towards you, the capital letter A audience. But it'll still be me, and I probably can't shut my mouth for even a second. So, whatever happens, I hope you enjoy.